Yes, and welcome back to another StarCraft 2 retro replay cast. As once again we have a great international engagement in between the two pro players. So let me just start by introducing them to you. As we have spawning here in the upper left in the blue, it is SERRAL from Finland. And his opponent spawning here in the lower right in the red, it is Stats from South Korea. So quite an interesting engagement here we have. And I can tell you one thing, this is of course from 2017-2018. SERRAL will be going for some units that don't exist anymore in the new patch. I'm not going to spoil it for you of course, but it's quite an interesting unit composition here from the world champion. Now Stats opening up here really nicely with this first probe, just winning him a couple of seconds as he's forcing here SERRAL to go into another position for his expansion. So pretty standard open up here by SERRAL with his straight expansion, no spawning pool yet for him. And Stats of course will be exploring this really soon with his probe. Let's check his main really quick. He's also preparing a nice wall of here into this location with a gateway and pretty soon a cybernetics core, or actually a fast expansion. Also check his main gas is up. He's mining with one probe here, interesting enough. And yes, SERRAL of course continues just like all the other Zergs with a extractor into a spawning pool. So yeah, the probe is going to be annoying here. Checks the proximity, and of course the overlord's also out here on the map scouting it. And let's just see if SERRAL is going to be going for a 2 minute and 30-second hedge here as his spawning pool is about to get finished. Some overlords also being spawned, so the normal build order here just being delayed a little bit with the move out by Stats. A very fast move out here by him. That's a spawning here on Acropolis LE. So yeah, there's the expansion from Stats. Overlord will be checking this out really soon, as slowly but steadily he is closing here next to this proximity next to Stats. Let's just check his main really quick. Another pylon is being made, and we need to be careful of course if it's going to be a Twilight Council or a Stargate for Stats, what exactly his options are. Currently he's just chrono boosting out an adept and also upgrading that warp. So pretty standard stuff. We're closing in towards the 2 minute and 30-second mark. SERRAL still not deciding here to move out. Oh, hold on, there it is. So SERRAL going for that. No, actually it's just transferring some drones. And of course this transfer will also take a couple of seconds extra here. So Stats with a nice early move out by him. Let's check once again his main. It's actually a Twilight Council, so we might seeing a timing push here by Stats with some blinking stalkers, or mass adepts could be an option for him. There's that expansion of what I was talking about. So pretty standard stuff. And there is that speed for the Zerglings here for Stats. That's interesting enough, one Zergling has made it here forward, so it's very important for SERRAL to see what exactly is going on. And interesting enough, we actually see a robotics facility base, so no blinking stalkers. It could be a push out with a warp prism, so it might be a very outstanding strategy here by Stats. Let's just see what exactly his plans are as he's going into another gateway. So the wall off is complete. Finally SERRAL won't be able to pass here forward with any Zerglings. Even the adept is coming home, but this one overload could be really important here for SERRAL, as it will give important vision about the next buildings. We have a double gateway for Stats here, so indeed it is a war prism. It might be continued with some stalkers, even some adepts. Let's have a look. Nice spread out here by SERRAL with his Zerglings into this location. His economy will be looking really strong. Tier 2 is also being made by him, and he also added here a roach warrant, so we might see a timing push by him as well. But then again, it is a tier 2. Could be a transition into some lurkers, hydras, even some mutalisks. Let's have a look what his plans are. Currently just a roach warrant for him. Wall of still complete here for Stats, as the first warpism is moving out here, just sniping a casual Zergling. Let's check once again the main here from Stats. Still gateways. So yeah, what could this be? Actually, he is moving out. He might teleport some adepts next to this war prism. Let's have a look. Yes, oh no, actually it's Dark Templars. But where is that Dark Shrine? Oh, there it is. I completely missed this one. So Dark Templars, indeed it is going to be a rush by Stats. Quite interesting before the 5 minute mark. So what a great strategy by him. And actually he did made them into 2 Archons So let's have a look if he's going to be able to snap something here. Some roaches are on the ground, but the Archons with their splash damage, of course, will be really, really strong, and starts with an outstanding micro here, just moving forward with that War Prism. Just to be careful against those Queens, of course. The Queens will target the War Prism, but yeah, the Archons on the ground nicely being microed here, almost losing that shield for stats, but still he needs to move here forward against the drones, against the economy. He might be successful here as the roaches aren't really that fast, and of course the Archons really, really tanky with their shields as they just inflict more and more splash damage towards those roaches on the ground. So quite an interesting strategy here by Stats, is retreating a little bit, but even I didn't see this one Dark Shrine next to the minerals, nicely hidden here by Stats as he's continuing with some Immortals. But let's just check the micro once again here by Stats. One Archon pretty low on shields, so yeah, he's retreating a little bit, perhaps just allowing that shield to come back online. And at the same time, SERRAL with a slow moving Overlord moves here forward with 8 Zerglings. So what a great strategy here by both players. However, we do have some sentries, we have some Immortal here, so the Zerglings will of course be taken care of really soon by Stats. Or are they? They do have speed, some Adepts, I believe. No, Zealots will be warped here forward, so yeah, Stats should be able of course to clear this as soon as possible. SERRAL just scouting here the map, just checking out what exactly Stats is going for. Once again, Stats prepares an attack. His War Prism did take some damage, but let's have a look. Is he going to be able to snap this one Queen? It would be really important. SERRAL comes here forward with his other Queen, but yeah, nice snipe here by Stats. Really, really fast with his micro. SERRAL even had to pull those drones, so a lot of mining time being won here by Stats as well. So a great strategy here by Stats with this one War Prism, killing some units, and at the same time he's bringing some hallucinated phoenixes here just to scout the proximity, just to see exactly what SERRAL is going for. And I believe SERRAL is preparing also here his third expansion. No, it actually takes this one here, so quite nice stuff here. And Stats also taking this position here as he has some Immortals, some Zealots, some sentries here, so quite a nice unit composition here by him as well. And we also see some Mutalisk moving out here for SERRAL, but yeah, of course the Archons will be really strong against those Mutalisk. One, even 2 probes have been killed, so SERRAL does a nice job. We do have a cannon, we do have some shield batteries on the ground, still 5 drones have been killed, so SERRAL with a nice flyby here, inflicting economic damage here against Stats, at the same time just expanding here all over the place. So yeah, also adding a Baneling's Nest and Infestation Pist, so we're going to be seeing some Infestors. And let's have a look how this is going to work out for him. Of course the Archons are hunting down those Mutalisk. Archons really strong against Mutalisk with their splash damage. Yeah, SERRAL just roaming around here, just forcing Stats to stay back, as he might be able once again to snipe those probes, those gas mining probes, but just has to be careful against those Archons. He's getting chased by the War Prism. Finally we do see a Phoenix, 2 Phoenixes actually, and with this I believe the harassment will end really soon. Even the Archons have attacked now, so yeah, 2 Phoenixes still attacking here, but there's quite lots and lots of Mutalisk. So yeah, nice job here by SERRAL, just harassing Stats really nicely. But yeah, worker wise we still see quite the same worker amount. Stats just a little bit behind with 67, as it's just adding more and more of those pylons here, and SERRAL might try a push here forward, might even transform those Zerglings into some Banelings. At the same time Stats just preparing his macro game here, just adding another expansion into this location. And yeah, the Phoenix is just scouting the map, just killing everything they can, as the Mutalisk once again are roaming around. So of course Stats really wants to see if it's going to be a push by SERRAL, if some Banelings will be warped. But yeah, no, currently just some Zealots here to defend. Zealot legs should also have been done, yes indeed. So yeah, he's able to push SERRAL back. Let's just check SERRAL once again, his unit composition. He has some Zerglings, some Roaches and some Ravagers, so this might be a push against this expansion point. But yeah, those Immortals are really strong against the Roaches on the ground, so even the 2 Archons are still alive. This one already having 8 kills, although we do see a nice surround here by SERRAL versus the Zealots. So nice job by him, as some reinforcements are coming forward. Even some Psionic Storm could be casted really soon by Stats. And yeah, lots and lots of High Templars here for him. Of course, a great unit to have against the Zerg, especially against those Zerglings on the ground. As we have passed now the 10-minute mark really soon, so still anyone's game, of course. Nice macro-oriented game now, as the Phoenixes will of course try to snipe as many overlords as possible, and this is exactly why SERRAL goes for some corruptors. He's at tier 3, I believe, so quite nice stuff by him. Still the Mutalisk are roaming around, but yeah, against so many Phoenixes and against so many Archons on the ground and those High Templars, if SERRAL is lucky, he might try to snipe one High Templar or two, but yeah, they're of course nicely guarded here by those Archons. Once again, a scouting mission here by Stats sees the tier 3, and at the same time we do have the Phoenixes here into this location. They might try to pick up a queen or two, they might try to inflict some casualties, but currently Stats not paying attention here. He's losing those Phoenixes finally, he's reacting. At the same time, he looks like he's pushing out in the middle of the map with the Zealots, with those Immortals. Even some Spores have been added here. But yeah, at the same time, he's of course just kiting around. He needs an observer. He has that observer in the air just to snipe those queen eggs on the ground. So quite a nice unit composition here from Stats with those Immortals. But hold on, we actually have some casualties now into the main from Stats, as the Mutalisk once again do roam around here. So just a couple of Mutalisk here for Stats. 6 of them, as one Phoenix is able to fend them off. Still, however, inflicting economic damage towards Stats, forcing him to stay back. Stats not really making everything happen, but hold on, actually a mistake here by SERRAL, as so many Mutalisk will fall. And yeah, I believe with this the harassment will stop here, as Stats even taking this expansion into this location. So everyone just expanding all over the map. Quite a nice game we have here. Lots and lots of spines. Of course, SERRAL is expecting a push really soon here by Stats with his Immortals, and a great flank here by Stats. He's able to kill so many units, even a nice double High Templar Storm, killing so many of those Banelings on the ground. So great engagements here by Stats, killing quite some units here for SERRAL. So SERRAL needs to be a little bit more careful. He has added a stronger unit now, those Protoss and some Infestors, so he might see some Fungals really soon by him. And Stats is now pushing forward, and he has some Tempests. Also very strong unit in the late game, actually 4 Tempests now, so he should be able to kill some Spores here, but he just needs to be careful not to get fungled by SERRAL, as the Tempests are of course not that strong moving. At the same time, we see a push out here by SERRAL with those Zerglings, but they are Immortals. There is one Archon here, so of course great counter, even one shield battery here by Stats to be able to take care of this harassment. And yeah, we see lots and lots of Infestors on the ground. No Vipers here interstelling up for SERRAL, as he's pushing forward. Now Stats is pushing forward against the Spores. We do see the Infestors very close by here, and we see once again an attempt by SERRAL with those Zerglings, perhaps morphing them into Banelings. Stats, interesting enough, adding now a Mothership, just checking the proximity, and SERRAL at the same time regrouping here in the middle of the map. So That's just playing very nicely, very defensively, but at one point he will have to push out. He has now those cannons into the main. SERRAL is preparing an attack with some banelings, and let's have a look what the next steps are going to be. Great storms against those Zerglings. Nice defensive storms here by Stats. This is bringing his reinforcements forward in the upper part, so Stats is of course expecting an attack. The banelings are in the front. Lots and lots of them will fall. Finally, the Archon will also have to tank lots and lots of that damage. Still, Stats holding on here. Finally, his reinforcements are going forward, and they should be held, but some casualties have also been taken here by Stats. But yeah, in the end, he's holding on really nicely against the first pushing attempt here by SERRAL. SERRAL at the same time regrouping here into the middle of the map, having so many infestors. What exactly are his plans here? With so many infestors, all of them almost fully recharged into mana. Some spores will be replaced here, and yeah, lots and lots of infestors. Indeed, it is going to be the plan here for SERRAL, as he's also going for some Hydros, so might see some transition into lurkers really soon by him. As the Arc, no, it's actually an immortal drop which is being prepared here into the expansion point for SERRAL at the same time with a small group. He's moving out. Let's just see what this one immortal push going to be able to be doing, but there's 2 Mutalisks here in the air, and let's have a look if Stats is going to be successful here. 2 immortals on the ground, of course, dealing lots and lots of damage. The War Prism has to be abandoned as some units will fall here, but in the end this will be surrounded. The immortals are of course holding on, but it's just way too many Zerglings here for Stats, as in the end he is able to hold. So yeah, what exactly are the plans here for SERRAL with so many infestors, so many broodlords, not that much anti-air, not that many corruptors for him, so he just needs to be careful for Stats not to go into many more Tempests here, or perhaps carriers, or perhaps Void Rays. Void Rays would also be a nice interesting addition here for him. Yeah, currently SERRAL just harassing here Stats as much as possible. And yeah, when exactly is Stats indeed going to decide to move here out, as both players are pretty much maxed out this one expansion. He's about to get killed, so nice kill here by SERRAL with just a couple of Zerglings. Hold on, we actually see the attack now moving forward. The Archons are in the front, tanking the damage. The Tempests try their best to inflict damage, but there's just so many spores, so many spines here for SERRAL, as he should be able to hold this. And they're just adding many more spores just to have that counter against any air units. And we see a push out with a small unit composition, just a couple of Hydralisks here, just a couple of Zerglings and Banelings. That's nearby with his units. And let's see what the next plans are. Actually, they're adding more and more of those spores here, so he's expecting some carriers, but no such thing yet for Stats, as he's just moving out with his mothership. Same time, SERRAL prepares an attack here into the expansion point, moving forward with his units. There is a High Templar immediately casting that storm, and the army is also nearby, so should be able to fend this off. And SERRAL pretty much just moving slowly but steadily forward with his spores, with his spines. He has so much creep spread here, so Stats really has to stop this immediately, or else he's going to be in really soon trouble, as the spores are just moving forward. Revelance has been used, and lots of oracles here, disruptors here for Stats, as the first shots are being taken here. So we will be having a nice kiting game back and forth. Great Fungals now, and let's have a look. Some mind control is being used now against the Tempest, but great disruptor shots here by Stats versus his opponent. Once again, mind control is being used by SERRAL versus his opponent. The Brutals also inflicting quite some damage. The Tempests are practically fighting against their own armies with that mind control, so very interesting strategy, as Stats is now just going into carriers. So it's going to be indeed a transition into mass carriers, but there's so many spores here on the ground for SERRAL, so he should have counter against that, and still so many infestors are being left alive. The disruptors are the counter towards those infestors, so we have them still being left alive, as in come the oracles. Sees all of those infestors a little bit exposed, so needs to be careful. One mind control is being used, and a disruptor shot once again nicely being used here by Stats. Yeah, slowly but steadily we're closing towards the 20-minute mark. Quite an interesting game we have here. Some corruptors have been added now here by SERRAL, just to have a little bit of anti-air versus all of those carriers, and Tempests in the air. Nice mothership here as well for Stats, as once again SERRAL tries with a small task force to attack here, but the defenses are quite good for Stats. Let's just see how this game is going to be continuing. SERRAL pretty much in control of the middle of the map. He's also expanded here, so Stats really has to do something here against this nice strategy, a very aggressive moving forward strategy by SERRAL, as once again he's trying to push here forward against the cannons, against the shield batteries. The Banelings will get some good connections. The High Templars are in the back, but a little bit too late casting those High Templar Storm, as now Stats just has to bring in some reinforcements, has to teleport in some Zealots, but yeah, in the end he has to bring his main army into this location, as a nice move forward here by SERRAL versus Stats. At the same time we see a counter here by Stats with some teleported Zealots into this location, and yeah, at the same time this will be fended off, but 8 workers have been killed. Stats responding kind-wise here with those Zealots on the ground. Yes, SERRAL once again is regrouping into the middle of the map, but the Zealots are still pushing forward. However, it's just so many spines here, and the Zealots will be suicided here against SERRAL. At the same time, Stats is pushing out. He might be lucky here to snap some of those spores. Still, the Zealots are fighting, of course. Some They did inflict quite some good damage here against the spines, against the spores. But yeah, in the end, SERRAL will of course be able to hold, as he's also pushing here out with his main army and just spreading that creep now, almost being here at the expansion point really soon, and at the same time just checking all of those expansions here by stats. So stats quite with a hard game here versus SERRAL. After all, some of his units have been killed here into this main, and at the same time SERRAL is now pushing forward with his Broodlords straight against those shield batteries, against the cannons. Let's just see, stats tries to find a good flank here versus his opponent. Snipes one Broodlord, so really nicely done, but there's just so many infestors on the ground, so many corruptors now in the air as well. Once again, some fungus have been added here by SERRAL. Let's have a look. He needs to be careful against those disruptor shots. Still, both players are of course kiting back and forth. It's quite a interesting game here. Anyone's game here, of course. A mistake will cost them quite dearly against those disruptors. The most damage could be taken out of those disruptors against those infestors, but yeah, the spores are already here forward by SERRAL, just showing their presence here, and yeah, the Tempests are nicely trying to inflict damage, but a great disruptor shot once again killing two infestors. So of course quite hard to out micro those disruptor shots, as Stats tries to counter here with some Archons and with some Zealots on the ground. So yeah, like I told you, still anyone's game. Upgrade wise, we can see also the upgrades here in the upper left part. Slowly but steadily Stats is pushing forward. Some units are attacking, perhaps a mistake here by SERRAL. It's losing a couple of those corruptors. And yeah, let's have a look how many Tempests are still being left alive. 5, so it's pretty good here for Stats. At the same time, his units will be taken care of here by those Hydras. So yeah, let's have a look when exactly the main attack is going to happen here. Once again, a nice fungal here by SERRAL, yet another fungal. But yeah, he needs to be careful against those disruptor shots on the ground. Nice kiting back and forward. And yeah, still anyone's game, like I told you. Very hard to attack here against so many disruptors and so many Tempests in the air, and even some carriers. Let's have a look if or when exactly SERRAL is going to commit. He's still expanding all over the map quite aggressively, just shows his presence here in the middle of the map, so very soon he's going to transfer all of those drones into another position. Worker wise, we have 64 for SERRAL, so he has dropped into workers, of course, to add more and more of that army, and still tries to spread more and more of that creep versus his opponent. Great disruptor shots this time against the spores on the ground. And let's see when exactly SERRAL is going to decide, or if perhaps he's going to change the location. But there are some Archons here, there are some High Templars. He's still in the middle of the map. He really wants to punch here forward, straight here against Stats. At the same time, some small groups are moving here forward. Pretty much SERRAL not allowing Stats to expand all over the map. So quite a hard game here for Stats. And let's have a look. He's bringing his main forces here. He's going to be able to snipe some units. But at the same time, SERRAL also moves here forward with his units versus Stats. And yeah, like I told you, quite a hard game here for Stats. It's pretty much under siege from all of those spores, all of those infestors here on the ground. And let's have a look. And this is the unit what I was told you about. It's infested Terran. We still have to hatch here out of those eggs. And yeah, it's massive amounts of infested Terrans now being added by SERRAL, and yeah, there they are. Of course, a unit that is not available yet in the new patches. This is of course from a previous patch, so quite an interesting unit to have. Infested Terrans inflicting some damage, of course causing some panic here against Stats. At the same time, a counter here by SERRAL with some high risk, with some Zergs into this location, so of course not allowing him to expand all over the maps. Stats pretty much has to bring his units back here to defend, as he's pretty much under siege. And yeah, those infested Terrans also looking really threatening here by SERRAL, as so many infestors are still being left alive, as still SERRAL just keeps pushing here forward. His creep spread is really strong. His spores are moving forward, so it's quite hard for those areas to move back. And let's have a look. The infestors, sorry, the Tempests will try, of course, to attack, to snipe those units. Finally, the disruptors will be able to inflict some damage against those spores on the ground. But yeah, fungal is here, so SERRAL with a quite nice strategy with those infested Terrans. Let's have a look if he's going to be adding once again those infested Terrans versus the Protoss, as his infestors are just moving forward. Lots and lots of 24 infestors here for SERRAL, some corruptors and some broodlings in the air. Let's have a look at stats. Tempest with disruptors. The disruptors versus those infested Terrans will be really strong. The mothership is also really nice, and here there are those disruptor shots, but still some infested Terrans have hatched here, and really soon we might see an engagement. Finally, so many infested Terrans once again being added. Stats has to pull back. He's once again being nicely bungled here by SERRAL, and so many infested Terrans. Look at that, it's just a massive amount, but yeah, the disruptors will counter that. However, so many infestors are still adding more and more of those infested Terrans on the ground as they're shooting. They even shoot in the air with some sort of a lava. Let's have a look. The next stats are going to be many more infestors are still being left alive, many more hatches. The eggs are going to get hatched here, so quite an imbalanced strong force we have here for SERRAL. I believe this is why exactly this has been changed in the new patches. This is of course from 2017, 2018, and here look at that, massive amounts of eggs are being hatched here as they attack the next expansion point. So quite a hard game for stats. Of course he's trying his best with his disruptors. 40 probes have been killed. There was a counter attempt here by stats, but in the end, yeah, the infested Terrans proving their strengths here. Of course, right now SERRAL has to retreat perhaps a little bit, as his energy, he still has some energy here onto those infestors, and there are fungus all over the place against those Archons, so he should be able to hold this location as well. And even some mind control is being added as the Protoss are fighting now against those units. So quite a strong unit to have, infestors with that mind control ability, with fungals, and now, like I told you, previous patch, with those infested Terrans just spawning egg after egg of infested Terran versus your opponent. Let's not forget the spores, let's not forget the spines. So yeah, pretty good game here by stats versus his opponent. However, stats tries to counter. He still has a strong army, 129 supply. But yeah, once again, the infested Terran have been added here, they have been spawned. It's time for some defensive purposes versus stats. So let's have a look how things will unfold. Still quite a strong force of Tempest, 4 carriers we have, lots and lots of disruptors against the ground forces, and of course some defenses here in any base, some high tempers, some zealots. So stats with a good defense, many shield batteries, so it's going to make it much harder here for SERRAL. But yeah, SERRAL pretty much also expanding all over the place here, and yeah, both players at 54 workers, as many spores will be added here. So let's have a look. So many cannons here. Stats knows that this new expansion is quite important for him. He's adding so many of those shield batteries, but SERRAL is nearby with his infestors, with his corruptors and his broodlings on the ground. So let's have a look. Another small task force is being prepared here for SERRAL. Let's see where exactly he's going to be attacking. Perhaps this location. Many probes aren't even attacking, but hold on. SERRAL is actually attacking here into this location. Perhaps tries to lure stats back to defend. Banelings are still inbound. The production buildings are being attacked now. Some pylons will fall here as well. At the same time, there is a counter with some zealots, but the banelings do hold their ground. So yeah, stats might try to come back here, but at the same time, no, he's just staying back. He of course has to defend the newly established expansion here for him, as in come the banelings, getting a great connection now. All of those ropes just pretty much imploding here. Nice connection here by those banelings for SERRAL. So quite a strong force, and once again the infested Terran have been casted here. SERRAL feeling pretty confident. The infested Terran is even attacking the interceptors in the air. And yeah, slowly but steadily SERRAL is pushing here forward with his units, with his spores. And yeah, infested Terrans are fighting now the air units. They will be cleared in the end, but quite a strong force to have here, as slowly but steadily SERRAL just keeps adding more and more of those spores. At the same time, he's once again attacking with a small task force. We've seen this do him a lot, just spreading his units, just attacking left and right. In the meantime, stats pretty much has his main force clumped up together. And let's have a look. More and more spores are being added, of course, against the interceptors, and there are those infestors once again infested Terrans, but some great disruptor shots here by Stats. Nice defenses here by him. Those disruptors have been used really well by him. Once again, some infestors have been added here. We see some nice stasis trap, and so much is being added. Even mind control has been added here. So SERRAL pretty much throwing everything he has. He even has those fungals. Great psionic storm here, however, by the Protoss to counter this. Not that much energy being left onto those infestors, but he has so much damage being taken left and right. Still many more infested Terrans have been added here. Mind control once again. Even the corruptors are attacking the carriers, taking so much damage. Still more and more infested Terrans have been added. The mothership will fall really soon, and yeah, so much is being thrown here against Stats. Stats just keep losing. Of course, he's nicely defending with those disruptors, with those tempests. He's nicely kiting back and forth. He has those shield batteries, but yeah, they're pretty much depleted now. Yes, SERRAL pretty much threw everything he had versus him, but Stats still holds his ground, and now he's transitioning into some gateway units, but still so many infested Terrans are pretty much being left alive. The infestors once again without energy. But yeah, quite an imbalance strategy here for SERRAL, as he has so many units on the ground. Let's just see 50 HP for those infested Terrans, and the time is also really high. So yeah, the only counter of course will be high tempo storms with disruptor shots here by Stats versus this. Stats holding on, he's nicely defending his expansion worker wise. Both of them pretty much the same worker amount. Yeah, but SERRAL even taking this expansion very close by to another expansion point by Stats. So Stats of course sending immediately some zealots just to snipe this one hatchery, where the real action is of course happening here into this location. Lots and lots of damage left and right here for both players. The expansion will fall for SERRAL, but yeah, like I told you, the real action of course happening in the newly established base here by Stats. So Stats still holding on. Infestors once again close by. Will they be launching once again some infested Terrans? Let's have a look. Nice fungal once again, and some mind control, but no, hold on. There's a great fungal once again being used. The corruptors are in the front, so nicely microing those infestors out of danger, and they're adding now more of those infested Terrans. Great micro here by SERRAL, just pushing back Stats, and yeah, the infested Terrans even attacking the air, taking out so many of those units. Even 9 probes have been killed. At the same time, the Protoss are here in this location, attacking the expansion. So nice job here by Stats with his units. And yeah, slowly but steadily he's just gaining more and more ground. And yeah, those infestors just proved to be a nice decision by him. Of course, Stats tried to counter it with the disruptors on the ground, but in the end it was just way too much. And Stats SERRAL even deciding to take this location. All of those probes won't be mining, so Stats needs to be careful. He's trying to attack with everything he has. Great storms here by Stats versus his opponent. Nice tempest shots, but now SERRAL even adding some Zerglings on the ground. And yeah, let's have a look what exactly is going to happen here, as many more many more of those fungals will be added. So in the end, of course, way too much here to handle for Stats. Quite a imbalanced strategy by any Zergs, I believe, back in the day. Mass infestors, we've seen 24 infestors by SERRAL. He of course has fungal, he has mind control, and he has those infested Terrans, and I believe in the end the infested Terrans just proved to be way too much here for Stats to handle. Quite a hard game, of course, in the late game for any Protoss. He did well with the disruptors, but yeah, in the end just SERRAL just proving to be too strong. And let's not forget that he also attacked the other expansion points with some banings, with some Hydras. So it's really important to have another small group of units to harass the Protoss. And yeah, in the end, SERRAL just forcing Stats to stay back, just forcing him to defend. And of course, the attack is the best defense for anyone. So SERRAL pretty much just expanding all over the map. And yeah, quite imbalanced stuff. Of course, I believe this is why Blizzard has removed the infested Terrans, as they were proving just to be way too strong in the late game. So yeah, quite an interesting game by both players once again. I hope you guys enjoyed this retro replay cast. We'll be seeing, of course, in the next replays. This is Tommy signing out.